like you play year to year to year. New team every year. You have to be worried about doubts. Just checking. I'm just checking to make sure that Two years ago, up on 2-1 funding without. I told him, he said he was going I mean, outside.
Did you any opening? Yes, so right before we turn it over to attendees to share feedback. Okay. Yeah. Oh, sorry. What's that for? For. How are you? John's cars, don't. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. How are you? Thank you for coming out to the raid. I'm a student of Chantal Jackson. I have the privilege of chairing the New York State Black Legislative Task Force. And welcome to our listening to it, $38 billion while we're all here, correct? I want to say thank you for coming out to the raid again. The New York State Black Legislative Task Force has been acknowledged by our assembly this year. And so it's a big honor that we were able to get $30 million on the budget. So we're going to be talking about that. But more than talking about that, I'm going to be listening to you all tell me what actually do with the money. But before we do all of that, we're going to have people introduce themselves on the stage. And then you guys have some great guests in the audience who decided to be here with us as well. Like one of my days, Assemblyman Gabriella Romero. You guys know her? Yeah. Okay, all right, I like him a little bit too. Go ahead. Yes, sir. See, Gabrielle, you still with me?
I don't know, Mike.
You do.
Good evening.
Ah,
I'm Assemblymember Landon Days. I represent the 77th district in the Southwest Bronx. Our districts border each other, and a lot of the issues that she deals with are Siamese twins to my district. So obviously what's going on this Saturday, November 1st, the SNAP issue, food insecurity, job, socioeconomic, crime, education, family services. You run the gambit, it runs through our district. Between our two districts, we go in Amanda Septimal district, we pretty much represent the South Bronx. And we have one of the poorest districts, in the entire state of New York, not the country, actually. For many, until the redistricting, Congressman Richard Torres, who overlaps both our districts, has represented the poorest congressional district in the United States. And my goal is to change that and to change, or, I want to be at least like second or third last. I got to be last anymore. And my goal is really to bring more jobs, economic opportunity, economic vitality, and between hopefully with Chantel, Two Chair Jackson leading the charge, we're getting some stuff done in a meaningful, tangible way. And I'm hoping this is a sign, and people know that we are working our tails off to make that happen.
well said, and then to my left, my partner in this whole thing, Teresa Bailey.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. It's such a pleasure and so much every day. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the 518. My name is Teresa Daly. I'm the president and CEO of the United Way of New York State in 211 New York. And first of all, I want to thank you all for coming today. It is so wonderful to see you do, and your work is so impactful. And I'm so grateful for all that you do in your own ways, for your own organizations, for being here today. And I want to give a special shout out to two people. One is the United Way of Greater Capital Region President Peter Gannon, who's here.
Hi, Peter.
Yay, Peter!
Peter's excited.
And then I also want to give a shout out to the United Way of New York State Board Chair Kevin O'Brien. Say hi.
Hi, Kevin.
Yeah, he's probably one of the fiscal conduits here today, and I am just honored to learn about what you're working on and your application. Thank you.
So we have one of our fiscal conduits here, we have one of our members here of the task force, too. And then we have our colleague who also had to vote on the budget to allow us to even have this money. Assemblymember Gabrielle Romero, who you guys know very, really well. Hello, madam, welcome. Thank you for being here. And then we have common council members here as well. Carolyn, what's your last name, Carolyn? McLaughlin, so we have Carolyn McLaughlin here, and then, and then we have our, I'm gonna make sure I get the titles right. County Legislature Danielle Gillespie, yeah. And then we also will join our DA, Caitlin. Thank you. Alright, so we have some elected officials in the room, we have a lot of community leaders in the room, and this is a listening tour, right? So we're here to listen to you. We gave you all frequently asked questions based on the 9 other stops. This is our 10th stop. Based on the 9 other stops, this is the information we collected because these were the questions that kept coming up. And so we wanted to make sure that we got that for you all. And in case you haven't seen it, the areas that we're focusing this $30 million on is in housing, economic development, workforce development, health, education, civic engagement, cultural preservation, criminal justice reform, and nonprofit capacity building. And the last one is one of the ones we've heard a lot about, saying that most nonprofits need help with the capacity building. So we know that, we want to make sure that we are doing that. Another thing that I want to, I guess, explain is that The $30 million is gonna go through the Department of State, and it's gonna go to fiscal conduits, and those are the people that's going to get the money from the Department of State and make sure that they are getting the money to the groups that are applying for them, right? And so United Way is one of them, Elmcore, LISC, New York Urban League, and Federation of
Protest and welfare agencies.
Federation of what?
Protest
and Welfare Agency, so FPWA, right? Did I forget somebody? No?
No.
Okay, so it's 5 fiscal conduits, and they're going to be receiving money from the Department of State, make sure it gets out to the groups. And this is statewide, this $30 million is not just for the backyard of Albany, sorry guys. It is for the entire state, so when you think of it like that, it's not as much as if it was in one of our pockets. So, that's something to keep in mind, but also know that the Black Task Force advocated for $50 million and got 30. And the Hispanic Task Force also received $30 million, and the AAPI Task Force also received $30 million. So it's a total of $90 million out there for our nonprofit. And so, we're just here to talk about the $30 million that we allocated.
But I do want to add and give her flowers. She just had 3 different segments, 30 million, 30 million, 30 million. But Chantel made a proactive approach to go across the state to talk to the community. She came to Binghamton, Buffalo, Staten Island, Long Island, Queens, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Bronx, now Albany, Syracuse, and
Rochester's coming.
Rochester's coming up. And I applaud her for that. She's a mom, she has a young son, but it's showing her commitment to not just her community in the Bronx, but to all the workers. Because even though this is from the Black Task Force, the reality is this will help nonprofits that impact across multiple sectors. Her dedication to all the workers demonstrates why she's one of the leading the Black Task Force, and she's also the chairwoman of the Women's Caucus, and that's why we call her 2 chairs.
Yeah.
And so I want to She's very powerful.
That's right. We are in a beautiful space. I'm sure you guys have visited this space before, but if you have not, welcome to the Black Chamber of Commerce. And it is led only by our good sister right here, rocking the red.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to say to those I have not met, many of you are very familiar faces, so welcome back. As you just heard that lovely introduction, I'm Shauna Williams, overseer here at the Albany Black Chamber of Commerce and Social Club. And we are here to not only have these types of conversations and dialogue, but also to support your businesses and organizations once you leave. So if you have not yet gone to the website, grab your palm card, grab your key to find out about the benefits of membership, please do so. There's information all around the building, so as you leave, please grab something. Or like I said, myself, just to talk about how we can best support your organizations. But do know that as this information is being integrated into our region, we know that there's a lot of funding that is coming to this area. There are a lot of electoral changes that are happening. So now is the time to be actively integrated. We want you to find that here with your Black Chamber. So thank you again, and I hope to talk to you all soon.
Two things. One, make sure you are following us on all social media platforms. If you are being on social media, we're sending a lot of our updates there. Of course, if you have registered, which you all should have, then that means we have your contact information. And as soon as applications are available, it's going to go to the people whose contact information we actually have. So make sure you have either registered for this or down on our mailing list. Make sure you follow us on our social media platforms at NYSBL Task Force. NYSBL Task Force is up there. It's pretty small, so if you have bad eyes, then that's something to go to the front and see it. Okay, so now the listening tour is open. Dorcia, our executive director, is right here. Dorcia Williams, thank you very much for all the work that you have done to close the bar. He said that he'll get 3 minutes to ask and answer your questions. So be mindful of your 3 minutes, so that everyone can have a chance to speak if we have more time, but of course we will allow for more questions. So The 3 minutes is up, don't all run to the mic at the same time.
Just a real quick thing, it doesn't have to be a testimony, if, what we got is like, you're not gonna win the pitch here, right? And no, I'm saying, and I understand, like, it's resources limited, people, nonprofit struggling, and we're trying to help them. This is about more on the procedural aspects, where we can be helpful. The decision, you can have a great organization in the world, and tell us that right now, it's not gonna necessarily be, it doesn't inform you when it comes to the process. But this is about the process, how we're moving forward, the steps that we can take. So have that in mind in your question, please.
Okay, so I see here, and then my friend in the back. Yeah.
Oh, was that the quote?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
Because you looking to run up and grab the mic from each other.
Most of the lessons, my name is. Sure, but that's. I guess my question is, because it is important that part of what is being allocated is for capacity building. But what I am aware of within the human services field, that there's been a lot of up and coming, for lack of a better word, mom and pop type of nonprofits, 501(c)(3)s that are at that process of really being ready to be built within their capacity, build up their capacity. And so I'm just asking, what is the rationale or how would it be recommended, someone considering it, to consider it based on the reimbursement aspect? So that, nobody wants to, get their hopes up and not really understand that particular process. That's a little challenging.
Are you asking how?
How would that, say I'm coming at you with capacity building, but I'm trying to build, I'm brand new. But I have, all my credentials that are necessary. But I'm looking at the criteria, and one of the most important things that stands out is the reimbursement piece. So it's just a little bit more, if you could expand on that and how that would impact or how it works, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you so much for your question. I think we can talk about this a little bit from a fiscal conduit point of view, so that you kind of know what we're looking for. Because we appreciate that too. This is not a startup operational fund. This is not meant to get you up and running. It's meant for current projects that you're doing as an established 501(c)(3). So if you're pending your 501(c)(3) status, please don't apply just to you. If you want to collaborate with a nonprofit in your area and you want to co-apply, we encourage that. But we need the lead entity to be an established 501(c)(3) that has the capacity to do a project and that can build up that, if that makes sense. But to your point, we don't want to discourage starter nonprofit applying. We want to book that, absolutely, but the idea is that you would have like a partner organization that is well established that can support your efforts. So I hope that answers your question.
And then the reimbursement aspect, what is that?
So, yeah, so that is something that, and I do not mean to speak for the other fiscal conduits when I say this, but we're all nonprofits who are fiscal conduits, so we understand the struggle of fronting money. It's never easy, and it's frustrating that we even have to have that discussion, but it's part of what happens when you're working with the state. So what we're gonna do is a couple avenues. One, we're gonna try to help mitigate how much we have to reimburse through that process period. But we're also a fiscal conduit ourselves that are also nonprofit. So it's hard for us to front exactly all of the funding. We're also working as a possibility with the Department of State of getting the fronting of funding to be able to help with smaller level grants. So for example, a hope and a dream is that we get 250 cash and be able to dole out 50,000, 25,000, 10,000 grants kind of immediately. So, but in an effort to answer your question about reimbursements, potentially you would be granted funding, you would have to do the project and then you receive the funding after the project.
So it's two different things. We're hoping to do that 250,000 and fund smaller nonprofits, and get them started on their project. And then larger projects and it's based on your tax form that that you receive when you review, you see what your capacity is. So if you have $1 million capacity, we're not gonna give you 7 million, you know? If you have a 500,000 capacity, we'll give you something in the range that makes sense for what you can handle. And for the smaller nonprofits, then we're looking to do that 250,000 to help with those smaller orders.
Well, the contractors, if they have an advance part of it, some contractors can have advance.
Well, that's what she was talking about. So so we've been working with the Department of State and our leadership to see if we can get 25% advance to our fiscal conduits. And then, being able to get it to our nonprofit, but for most of it, just to make it something that's going to be reimbursed without most of it will be reimbursed, with the exception of that 250 we're hoping to have. And nothing is set in stone, right? You're very clear on that. So don't think, Chantal said it, and all, listen, things change by the hour.
The one thing I would add to, not that I want you to send your wheels, but sometimes, like I apply for contracts and I was in private business, right? And learning the process and understanding what things are necessary, what the state is looking for, would also help your organization in the future when you as you continue to build your home benefits, if you want to who receive it or not, understanding how the state system works, understanding how the United Way works, it's still beneficial, it's still create relationships, all that. It's one grant, right? There's other grants that United Way has, and other things. They must say, but this organization, they didn't get the Black Task Force grant, but they were working on something on this, like, I care about the census, I can't keep it out. In a year or two, it says, people are gonna talk about census, suddenly, like, wait, this organization, all people, the census, let's reach out to them, right? But this is still, I think, capacity building and that network building also. So I do think there's some positives on top, no matter what happens, just be part of it, right?
All right, thank you. My name is, Orville. I belong to a couple of different nonprofit organizations in this community, and other community. A couple of questions. The funding is going through the Department of State, I believe that, and is that the grants gateway mechanism that we're using?
What did it change it to? What is it now?
It's been changed. Second question,
You've been around.
yes, I just have the question. The funding in general, are you looking to have some equity in terms of disbursement regionally?
That's what I was asking.
So, capital region, X amount of dollars, Metro New York.
Do you have a suggestion?
The best project, the most impactful project, no matter where it is, could be in the camp, for example, should get the money.
Capital City.
Capital City right here. Best project in Capital City. So, all right, third was the, no, I'm thinking of,
So if I remember, so my ask is, do you have a suggestion when it comes to the equity and how funds should be distributed?
well, here's the issue. So in terms of mass organizations put together, naturally, the downstate area, you have absolutely more organizations that can and probably will apply, right? So when you're weighing whether an area like the capital region should get a share, let's say, what formula can you use? Is it by population? Is it by what other metric can you use to really build out those funds in an equitable and say? I don't have the answer to that. I'm just curious as to if that any thoughts given to that. Because usually what happens is, well, the other part is, I know some of our legislative representatives were here, maybe here earlier too. And, how involved can they be in trying to, lobby or support our efforts here? And I know they're going to support our efforts. Given that, the numbers Okay?
So part of your conversation, you're right, there's a critical mass in the city, just when you got the members that are here. But we have upstate members who have serious issues in their communities and they're advocating fiercely for their community. And the end decision is not gonna be in our decision, that's one thing that's made clear. We will not say, hey, this organization is gonna win. But what I will say is the members that represent your communities, not just New York City, are fighting for those organizations because they know what is needed. And there's an argument too that the buck travels a little further up here and within the city, right? And so people are fighting for that and I'm putting, fiercely for that.
And just to add, the members, you do not want the members to be a part of the selection process. We want to make sure we keep that totally separate. This is why we have our fiscal conduit. They're going to receive all the applications, they're going to review all the applications, and they're going to make decisions however they choose on those applications and who's going to win. So our job was to make sure that we collected information, that we, provided the application information to you all, and then the fiscal conduit are wrong for everything else. I don't want to hear that I showed all the wrongs and nobody can call me. And then the other thing was about equity in the distribution. We're here listening, so if you guys think that it should be done a certain way, that's what we're here, taking notes, listening to what you're saying. But it has been brought up a number of times, like I said, I've been to Rochester, I've been to Binghamton, Buffalo, Syracuse, now Albany, Long Island, I've done all of them, right? And so everyone's saying the same thing, what about me? Don't forget me. I got, even Staten Island, even if I'm part of 5 they're like, don't forget me. So everyone is making sure that they voice are being heard and saying something.
Good evening, my name is Dr. Carolyn Roth, I'm a county representative for Albany County. And I just want to say thank you for being here, for including us in your tour. It's been a long time since we've had this kind of attention in the capital region as it relates to how funding is distributed. I worked for DOE for 10 years. I know about following money. And back in the day when Assemblymember Arthur E. from Buffalo, he was a real strong advocate for the capital region. And we are fortunate now to have strong advocates, Gabriella Rivera, have done more in the last year than we witnessed in 12 years.
Come on now, say
And so I don't mind saying that, and I appreciate following her around, living out for a big check. So, I will always give her credit. I don't
she had to go to CAT.
So I just want her to know publicly that I appreciate her being my representative. So my question is center around, is there, how will the faith community fare in this type of process? I mean, is there a minimum and a maximum, like, that you might want to see an organization carrying as their ability to take on additional funding, and their capacity to manage the funding? And when I was listening to Oral speak, I was thinking about the Hunger Games, and I really don't want us to, like, chew each other up and spit it out, and nobody ended up really being able to do what they have.
I get it.
The faith community is very active here in the local community, and I don't want them to be left out of the process. And again, the budget that you're looking for, capacity to, those are questions, that I would like to have answered. And the application process itself. When will that be out? And I know it said nothing's gonna be there. But we even expect to see this money back. It's coming.
Okay, so first thing on the say, as long as they are nonprofit, then they can apply, and they should apply. And as long as they're doing the work in the areas in which we talked about, the housing, education, all those things, then they should apply, because that means that they're doing the work that we want this money to go to. Who's related? Oh, we have a SPAC. Yeah, of course, it is a nonprofit. So Landon was, thinking about the whole faith-based conversation, and as long as they're a nonprofit, then they are eligible to apply. We're not giving anyone cash, right? So you're gonna give us your $9.90, well, the application is gonna reflect your $9.90, and we're going to see what you're able what word am I using? To handle this, thank you. And so we won't go past that. And then you had another question, the application process. The application is coming out way sooner than we expected.
The application is coming out way sooner than we expected. She is exactly right, Madam Chair. We're looking at potentially as early as next Monday.
Wow.
So we're working on the application right now, and
You know, Albany moved that, yes.
no, but we're actually really trying to. What I will say is if you are interested in applying, this is me telling you, get your ducks in a row as much as you can now over the next few days, because what we're up against is a pretty tight turnaround. So for you to be considered, please have these ideas after tonight. You know, write your notes down, get things in a row, get your paperwork all set so that when that application opens, you can apply, be done, and hit submit. Because we're gonna be looking to have a quick turnaround of about 14 days potentially.
And not even a long application process, it shouldn't be anything long and grueling, because you heard all the complaints of how hard it is to get through an application when applying for this type of funding. So we're trying to make it simple, but you have to submit things. If you don't have a 501c3, then this is not the grant for you. You need to partner with someone else to take that time. But I'm gonna,
I was gonna complain about the
Yes,
timing
please.
and the application.
Do it.
That's both of it, but in seriousness, here from the United Way here in the capital region. I'm also a veteran of the assembly. I'm not using that.
okay, no worries. Which seat?
What's that? I was not in the, I was staff.
No, which.
It's John McDonald's district.
Oh.
Work for John.
Right.
What I'll say about this, spending like this often gets a bad rap, it's like for, member initiatives. It's the best type of public when you can do. When legislators like you guys and listen to the description of your district and your description of your district and then know Assemblywoman Romero, when a legislator is engaged and active in their community, there's nobody better to direct public funding than you folks representing us in the incentive. So thank you for the great lengths you're going to cover the state. You're notoriously, not you personally, but the state is notoriously slow at reimbursing. I've already heard that as a pain point expressed 2 or 3 times. I'm not here to be a monopoly guy. However, for those organizations where the suggestion has been made about partnering up with an organization with more substantial capacity, look to your local United Way. We'll take that call, we'll sit down with you. If you get that piece of paper from the state that says you're in the mix and you're gonna get the grant, like we can do business, we can help you, you can avoid the bank. Low cost, maybe no cost on that, to just, add our capacity to the system. And get agencies that otherwise would be prohibited by the outlay from being able to get a business grant, we would potentially be in a position to support that. So I want to put that out there. And that's something that we've done historically in practice when we've had agency partners that have waited for abnormally long reimbursement periods from agencies like CIS or DASD or whatever. So that helps keep the ball rolling, keep them going. So please, reach out and I just, again, thank you and thanks for being here, and hanging for a bit more and go through the back. Great to meet so many amazing leaders too, by the way.
Thank you.
Feels great to be in community when, are we live online now?
Yes.
It feels great to be in community right now. It seems like everything's online. So just make sure.
Thank you, Peter. And so I hope you all heard that United Way here is willing to support you all. So that's definitely a call you want to make.
Good evening, Tom. My name is Natalie White. I work for the Office of Cannabis Management. And so we're excited to be here today. Excited to hear information. I do have a question with SFS. In this region in particular, we have very low numbers. We just gave out $5 million. And so we're really here tonight to discuss about Our application will be opening January 2026, and I want people to know that it's happening. You do not have to have any connection or dealing with cannabis, and you touch the same, many of the same, areas you touch. But my question, we had a lot of people that did apply, but they were not qualified in SFS, which posed a problem. So I was wondering for yours, especially with that quick turnaround, do they have to be pre-qualified in SFF in order to receive the funding?
Well, I'm gonna say no, because they know that this is new money, this is for smaller nonprofits, that's the point of doing that. And so, if you've never touched SFS, whatever. If you've never touched it before, it's okay, like, this may be your first time, but can they?
I don't think Department of State does SFS either.
Oh, so Garcia is saying that she doesn't even think Department of State is utilizing it.
Okay, well, that's.
And the application process is going through you, the fiscal Congress, they are responsible for dealing with the
Right.
You're responsible for dealing with that.
Yeah.
And then for the OCM, the $5 million, that, can you just elaborate on that a little bit? We had a conversation with Mr. President about this.
Yeah, so we have $5 million, so with the legalization of cannabis, what that did was say that the sales tax that comes from the money from cannabis, 40% has to go to community reinvestment, another 40% goes to public education, and then 20% goes to education in terms of substance abuse. And so we are charged with this 40%. We had $5 million. We just hit $2 billion. So this fund is going to continue to grow, and it will be in existence as long as cannabis is legal in New York State. One key that we want folks to know, faith-based communities can apply. We are encouraging them to apply. Anyone can apply as long as you're dealing with, at this particular time, the money goes to you with workforce development, housing, workforce development, housing, workforce development, housing, and but I have a little paperwork with me, I'm sorry, but we are now, January 2026 is when our application will be due. For you have to be certified and, you have to be pre-qualified in SFS. So we are having grant readiness, events happening all across the state, from Buffalo to Brooklyn, to get folks pre-qualified, because that's really was the key with us. We deal with, within the state, but really want folks to know this money is there, it is available, and we want folks to apply. In this capital region right now, the numbers were low, so we really want to get the word out within this capital region, but really it's money for all throughout the state.
And where would they find that online?
You can find that online on our website. I have information with me today. I have cards. I have a whole one-pager fact sheet on this information. So it really can, after this we can definitely.
Okay. Make sure Garcia connects, because she'll also spread it through the spot that we made.
Yeah.
But thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So you see, it's not just $30 million. We have $5 million from Taylor looking at. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hi, welcome.
So I do have a few questions. First and foremost, thank you for clarifying. So you're saying that the smaller organizations are going to apply through one of the larger organizations, United Way. What is your organization called again?
Oh, she's
I'm
the
with the
executive director.
All right, so what was the other
So
one?
it's Elmport, United Way, your Urban League, this, and FPWA. Oh, those are the 5.
Okay.
And they receive the $30 million.
So with that being said, a lot of times when people do get grants, even though I'm not using anybody of favoritism, we do accept grants based on the level of understanding of their impact. And so most of all of those organizations that you stated, aside from United Way, which we have a capital region branch, I don't know if you guys are working in coalition together on that level. How do we, especially the city of Albany, who has been left out the pots of money for a very long time and not properly represented, how do you, what do I want to say? Like, how do you ensure that you're covering all the regions, the different districts? I think Oracle touched on it a little bit, but how are you guys kind of calculating that Are you prioritizing a certain level of funding to go to like each city, each state, well, one state, each city or a certain district? Or is it just first come, first served?
I want to make sure to answer every element of your question. So I would also ask that you give us gravitas on knowing that the fact that this is our first time doing this, so we're all learning and processing at the same time. And I do not want to speak for all the fiscal conduits when I say this, but my way of doing it has been to look at the applications that we're going to receive and understanding the plans that outlines for each area that are given. So we can say, oh, well, we think each area can have a certain amount of money, but it doesn't mean anything until we see the application and what they're going to do with the money that they've selected. So I'm not gonna ever quote saying, well, it's only gonna be this amount for this area or this amount for this area. It may be disproportionate, not through any intent, but because we're going off of who applied for the funding. And that brings me to saying to please apply for the funding, because we can't know what you're doing if you don't have the application. So please apply for the funding, because we're looking at every application with the intent that we want to fully commit that funding for the.
Okay, so I guess it's just.
So there's no formula to say like, oh, he's gonna get this, maybe gonna get that. But the fact that we even showed up to say like, I wanna hear from you, I wanna make sure I collect your information. So when this application is available, you'll see that it's open and available. That means a lot, because no one else is going to do that. No, not one other group is going to do it. No one wants to take on the burden of doing this. But we're here, we're listening, we want you guys to apply and know that it's there.
So my suggestion would be to look at some interstate departments like OCN, like Project Rise, DCGS, and other interstate Department of Mental Health. And kind of use some of the data that they already have and have been working on for multiple years to prioritize what the needs are in those particular regions. Because every area is different, and even workforce development, I see the priorities, but that looks different in every community, and it's addressed different, different organizations in different.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Lou Cooper. I'm the executive director of We Are Revolutionary, a grassroots organization dedicated to resident basis project. I love that workforce development is a priority here. We actually won New York State Workforce Development Award this year from NYSBLT, so it was like that is really growing. Across Albany, we're seeing two things right now at the same time: a rise in youth violence, but also a number of directly impacted leaders right here in our own community who are stepping up as mentors, advocates, and actually are on the ground with folks helping address these needs. But often our peer-led organizations with system impacted individuals are really underfunded and often pushed to the side. But in the wake of clean slate, right, and the amount of individuals who will now be able to enter back into the workforce and this need to really center peer-led work, how can the Black Task Force really make sure that some of this money is really going towards helping those who are formerly incarcerated enter back into the workforce, but even helping them be able to stop other individuals from going into the prison system itself through workforce development?
So the question is, how can the Black Task Force address this issue? And so our job is to highlight the nonprofits that do the work already. So who's doing the work in Albany with the young people and recidivism?
That would be us and a few other individuals out here.
Are they here?
Griffin, also we Dallas.
So you guys are here, right? So the number of you guys who are here, that means that you already know that this money exists. So our job is to make sure that you are aware. Your job is to apply. But you guys understand also that this is just one pot of money. Your elected officials have access to funding as well. capital funding, discretionary funding. So I've heard someone sing, Romero's praises. She's not the only one. You have a Pat Fahey, you have John McDonald, they all, Phil Speck. Phil Speck is local over here. They all get discretionary funding, so it's not like this money is the end all be all. You have to also get your one pages, make sure it goes to all those members. And, I've had, since 2022, we've had the Black Task Force in existence, but we've been acknowledged this year. I've met with Common Council members, Sergio and who else, Osu. We've met Black electeds at the state and Black, Common Council members. And so I'm listening to what you guys need. I'm hearing the capital needs and the discretionary needs. And so it's not just this time that we're gonna be talking about money. January, when the governor starts talking about her state of the state, that's your time. Make sure you have your one pages ready, hitting the doors of all the elected officials that I just named, and make sure they know that the needs are here.
And I'll add to that, I know the wrongs, I can't speak for Albany, but the district attorneys also have certain.
Oh, right.
rights.
That's Sorry.
But you're thinking of something that actually represents you and also you.
But you're thinking of something that he probably cares about because you took recidivism. And whatever we can do to cut, we can cut recidivism by 20%, right? It ties into what OCM just said, housing, right? Let's be honest, housing is a big issue. People don't have housing. Turn around and talk about this. I'm scared about Saturday with SNAP and all that. People are hungry, crime goes up. It's very simple. So partnering with some of the organizations, yes, that might not mean you get this grant, but partnering in capacity building with other organizations means there's other grants outside of this. I think part of her dream on this outside of the 30 million is getting specifically our Black nonprofits to have their paperwork ready to go. So they are eligible for other grants and other money pots. Because we learned this during COVID. A lot of businesses to save money weren't doing certain tax things. And when PPP came out, they what do you mean you don't have payroll tax? Oh, what do you mean you don't have your proper tax form, right? So part of this process is capacity building, also teaching the systematic way to build your nonprofit so it is prepared to deal with the scrutiny that you will have when you deal with the state government, local government, and nonprofits. And that's another part of this that goes beyond the grant, hoping that you can teach and mentor the next young startup nonprofit to teach them to do what you've been doing.
Really appreciate that, and I hope to see you again.
He didn't even know what's happening. Are you still running? Are you still dealing with spot by now? Okay. Exactly. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Hello, just have a few brief preliminary remarks.
As long as they're 3 minutes, you can go as far as you can.
Then I'll take straight to the question. My name is Dr. Andrew Wilkes. I'm Generation Citizens Chief Board and Policy Officer. Generation Citizen is a civics education organization that provides foundational civic knowledge and skills to make sure that young people understand system inequality and how it can change. Our CEO joined you on the world tour across New York State in Manhattan this summer. And we're excited, as I'm sure many folks are here, about applying. I'll say one more brief remark and then go to a question. I think that civics education in a moment where folks have interactions with local government that sometimes can be alienating and estranging, is important to make sure that they can productively and generally engage local government. So my question specifically is, given that education and civic engagement are both priorities on what the Black Legislative Task Force is doing, we're an educational organization, but the result that we generate for about 10,000 students across the state is more civic engagement, stronger civic identity. Would organizations like us check the education box, check the civic engagement box, or like an all of that apply?
Yeah, so great question, and thank you for all you do. Second, yes, our goal, our idea would be that you would check a couple boxes in filling out the application, so that you would qualify for a couple different funding streams. Because how it is going to look like it's gonna be divided is that a group of us are gonna have different themes that we're in charge of choosing. So that's why it's critical that you choose a couple boxes metaphorically, but actually literally when the application comes out. So that multiple people can consider, multiple fiscal conduits can consider you for funding. If that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. Thank you so much.
And right now, at least 3 of the fiscal conduits are choosing to do one application process. And the others may have a different application process, which is fine because they, they may, what they're responsible for is just so different from the other 3. And so everyone's working together, trying to see how they can make sure this funding goes as far as it can, or as big as it can to do the impact that we want to have. So we're hoping to have that application utilized by more than one of the fiscal conduits. So they'll get to see it. They'll get to see it.
Wonderful. This is my last question. I know this isn't necessarily a decision-making space, but in the interest of continuing education, I just have a little bit of information about Generation Citizen. Can I share that with you all as I take my seat?
Okay.
Time is up.
Oh, wait, so it wasn't like give it to, you have a PDF?
Yes, some information out of this video to you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
please.
you.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Just see it getting old. And it's important to share this information with everyone else in the room so that, it exists. That's a wire.
Thank you.
We started in 2007 on New York
Yes.
City. Specialized in
Those are
providing
nice, if you don't
spiritual
mind.
guidance and feeding in clothing. The homeless, the
Yes.
poor, the laborer, the disabled, who is disabled, the forgotten, I'm sorry, the forgotten, the disabled, and hurt and broken souls. I heard you saying something about, applying for the application for those who don't have longevity as far as a nonprofit. My organization, I've been doing this since 2007, however, we had our 501c3 like 3 years ago. So, in applying for the application, I will apply with another entity that I work with that does basically the same work that I do, but they have more of a longevity. My question is, how do we go about filling out that application for the code? What paperwork or what's the criteria, and how do we go about step by step in filling out that application? Thank you.
Thank you so much. So first of all, thank you for all you're doing. So, full disclosure, the application is being developed. So we are working with the Department of State to understand what are the required materials to make this process like fastest. So in that application, please have, clear outlines of what you want to do with the project. There will be space for you to say, I am co-applying with another organization. So lead organization of and then lead organization of the different. And there will be very much an opportunity for you to put first and second. But I want to be clear, you're not required to co-apply. You can also apply on your own. But if it makes sense for you in the lack of longevity for an organization for you to co-apply, we always encourage that. So just wanted to make that clear. Then thirdly, some of the things that you might be required to, I would just say have your tax forms downloaded and ready on your laptop. So that might be your chart 500, that might be your most recent tax filing. Everything that you can think of that the state has made you fill out and that you have copies of, we're probably gonna ask for it. And the reason why is we're not trying as a fiscal conduit to invade your space. We're trying to have your back when we talk to the Department of State and we talk to the different agencies that are giving us the funding. We wanna have your back in the best sense. So that's why the application may require a form. I just don't want you to think that we're asking for all of this personal information and we're gonna look over it and keep it. We're really doing it to protect everybody. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Longevity hasn't been a conversation that we've been having.
Not really, no, not at all. It's just for some people, particularly this came up in the past few listening sessions that we had, people were waiting to hear on their 501c3 status. And that's what we were like, cool fire. But if you have your question status,
Yes.
I feel sharp about money, I get 990.
yeah,
Then
yeah, then you can go on application.
Okay, thank
And we
you.
look forward to reading it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
My name's yes. So I worked with that for 33 years since I did the first grant.
Oh, you got a problem.
We all.
Oh, I have worse. It's better, no, it's much better, it's much better, it's better space. The thing.
But first of all, but I want to say one thing. When we talk about housing, but not capital projects, but specifically, could you define what housing looks like in that space in terms of advocacy for housing or support housing? What exactly define that? As most people think about housing, they think about capital projects. So you can define that.
Yeah, when I thought of housing, when I first started doing this money back in, well, not back when we knew we were getting money, I wanted boilers, I wanted roofs done, I wanted things that I can like cut a ribbon and say, I did that. And so we don't have a definite of what housing is going to look like, but I do know that like there are some developments or complexes who have, they have debt issues that may be a conversation that we can address. But this money is supposed to be for operational, so we're not supposed to be building buildings and fixing floors, things like that. But when it comes to housing, I definitely wanted to do some of those things that are, things that are tangible, I can see. So I will have to get back to you on what the housing actually looks like, because I have not been designed, so that was my vision.
I want to get that, I do want to recognize, Assembly Member Reverend Dr. Al Taylor just showed up.
Yes, from the great.
You compounded your question a little bit. In reference to housing. So Chantel and I have one of the largest amounts of support, a lot of supportive housing been put in our district, right? Tremendous amounts. Something I think has been overlooked, and I would like to see, that I have no influence on what they pay. We have supportive housing, we're trying to take people who are houseless, put them into places. And I think one thing we should look at about housing is what does it mean to be a good tenant, right? We make assumptions, right? I remember my dad told me how to bounce a check. You know what I mean? My grandmother used to clean the walls of her projects outside of her door. And I think sometimes we lost some of that generational knowledge and how to take care of your home. I would love to see an organization that focuses on, you've been on the street for how long? The cycles go out on Tuesday, garbage is Wednesday, clean this, you don't leave it in the sink, because you make an assumption, but if you've just been a survival mode for so long. It's hard for you to suddenly go into this place of stability and what to do right out the gate, you know what I mean? We talk about coming from being incarcerated, making sure that their transition from their last situation to their new situation is easier on them. And just because you take someone from bad situation to good, doesn't mean they're gonna respond directly to it. So I would love to see that in some form of housing integration, specifically with supportive housing.
So when you come about loud.
Apologies for the delay. It's something called a storm going on up there. There's some broken here. I can't do my normal pace and the highway and everything. It's something that already held it over visiting the 71st Assembly District, which includes Harlem, Washington. Back to the region. Listen to you. It's not. Thank you. Have to join the colleagues. I know you have to work for a chair. How you doing? My name is Noah Ricks. I was watching you guys live as on my ride here, so I wasn't in person at the beginning, but I kind of watched you guys. I'm from Fort Lee, so I know that area. So now I'm a resident of Fort Lee. I run a youth program. I've been president for Open Top Women for 10 years. I ventured off last year to start my own organization, which is called the Youth Support Chair. We are also in the process of actually changing our name for next year. So the question I had was, when I fill out this application, I better use more than football this year. But in January of the new year, we're changing our name to the youth sports and development. Which is football and cheer, we don't have that puts in the box. So we also go to our kids and the families that we have in our program. And so we also help them get housing, we also help them with food, help distribution. And I heard you when I say housing, so I'm not in the housing business, but I am in the process of opening up and renovating a rec center. So what we would do, partner with programs in the community to teach these kids and teach the parents as well how to ensure to live, how to do workforce development and things of that nature. And just wanted to put that information out there.
Say the name of it again.
Albany football chair, we're also transitioning into Albany youth sports and development.
Yeah.
Did you play ball in New York?
Huh?
Did you play ball in the city?
Yes.
What school?
Well, in high school,
Yeah.
I went to Erasmus in Boise.
Sorry, look familiar, man. Just.
But I played street.
Anyway, that's the third. So, when it comes to names, right, the name of your organization needs to match your name. And so, I think you need to consider that you're gonna be applying for funding. That your name match your paperwork, okay? Which
Your
you,
secondary name can be a DBA, right? And then your infrastructural name can be what it is.
Right.
And then your DBA, doing business as, can be the more expansive. It doesn't have to be your actual corporation name. It'll keep it how it is, so it stays consistent. You can still have a second name.
and you're not your lawyer, so don't.
I'm just
But you get it, you get what you're saying, right? You get what you're saying, right? So just be mindful. Change the things that your paperwork. That everything is to line up. You can do additional work under a name, like my name is what it is, but I can do additional work underneath those things. You just have to, just be mindful of those things. Am I missing something, Therese?
No, that's exactly it.
Oh.
I just want everything to match.
Yeah.
So just make sure that it's consistent, and if it's not consistent, if you can give us kind of an explanation as to why.
And you don't want to do all that.
Yeah,
Like, you don't want to.
Yeah. All right, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's probably also goes back to Orville's comment in terms of the distribution of the funding throughout the state. The zone is going around handing out going different places, and Albany is slated to get $400 million to do different work. But what I want to make is, I hope that will be held against us, because we're getting $200 million to do some of these same things. And so I see it as an opportunity to.
That's the fact, that's.
Yeah, it's different source of money.
I've been working in this area for a while.
Yeah. So to answer the first question, it's a no, it has nothing, we're not gonna look at the fact that, the government gave $100 million, but this area said, oh, they don't need any money. It's based on the application process, we are looking strictly, I won't say strictly, but as Teresa said, we're looking at the application, what are you doing for the community? Does it meet those 7 things that we talked about? And that's what, that's our goal.
But I like the second layer that we were getting to was that strategically, if you can compound what might happen in this room with the 400 million and put it together, that is increasing your capacity and your impact. And to us, that's what she cares about, that's what the revenue cares about, what I care about, is I want this not just to save an organization, I want it to be impactful. So a couple of years down the road, some person can point back to this meeting and say, this changed my life. And that is what our intrinsic goal is.
Because you could apply for this money, you could apply for some of Italy's money.
Yeah, they all do. And that's why I brought up the whole fact that you're not gonna leaders as well, they have capital discretionary. So we're not keeping score like, I saw you apply. No, we're not doing that.
I would say the key is to apply, because I know that a lot of folks sometimes who gets the money, right? People say, oh, people don't know, no one can buy.
That's right.
Especially the whole like money is supposed to go to communities that were impacted. These that were impacted, not apply for the money, it's going to go elsewhere. And that means the people who qualify. I can't say it.
Well said.
Someone else again.
Well, you go ahead and show her.
Hello. Thank you for doing this. This is my name is April. My name is April Lynn, Capital Area Urban League. I have just a few clarifying questions. Could you explain how the fiscal conference will work together when considering applications, or do you work individually?
No, first of all, hi, we're all nice to meet you. Thank you for all of you. Secondly, we're all in communication about the application for the most part. If it do with one another, we're going to go over the application together. So we all are communicating in our own way. A couple may be in different routes because of the topics that they're doing, but we're still all going to communicate continually throughout the entire process.
Let me say how. Can you explain what you mean?
Yes, so some of us are going to have a focus on healthcare and equity, some are gonna have a focus on economic development, and some are gonna have a workforce focus. So the different topics are gonna be shared amongst the school conduits on kind of what we dole out to what area. But I want you to know that we're all going to talk all at the same time. There never will be like, oh, well, we didn't. We're always going to be communicating with each other.
And will the decisions be made collectively or decisions?
Well, I can't speak for the fiscal conduits themselves that aren't here. I wouldn't want to speak for them, but from our discussions, even up until about an hour before this listening session, we have agreed to all talk about the applications and the doling out of the money and who gets what.
Okay, thank you. Could organizations be awarded from more than one fiscal conduit?
Great question.
It came up a lot.
Yeah, that came up a lot. My understanding is that it's yes. It could be.
Yeah, it's just until we know.
Unless until we're told it's not. But yes, and then I would also just want to remind you too and say, there's also 2 other task force that have been awarded money.
And one of the applications is already open.
And one, yes, I was just gonna say, one is already open as well. So the API and the Hispanic task force.
The Hispanic Task Force's application is out.
There's a zone.
Yes.
But to clarify, we're not going to tread on their toes in either of those categories. But we are talking amongst the school conduits on our own passport.
Okay.
But we encourage you to apply as well as the other passports.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Transparent for this process being, once you come up with a rubric or suggested rubric for the fiscal conduit, will that be public? Will not-for-profits receive funding, know why they were awarded or were not awarded? Will it just be out there on our website, and we're supposed to follow up? Thank you.
You said you're trying to legislate this?
Yes.
Oh, no, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you so much for all you do, for your dedication as a county legislator. To answer your question, our goal is to make it as clear and concise in the application process. And then to respond to each applicant, again, if they've been granted funding, and if so, the exact details during the grantee process, and if they weren't awarded it, as to explain why. And again, I do want to caveat that we might not be able, due to the demand, to give you exact verbiage of, the 4 components that determined it, but we will, of course, do our best to make sure that each person is treated as such with dignity on each application. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Virginia Rollins, our organization is Boulevard Together Development Court. My question is around fiscal sponsorship. If an organization, a nonprofit organization applies Will they also be able to fiscally sponsor another organization?
That's similar to what we were saying before around, capacity, building and joining together.
Yeah.
So give me a reason why you would need, why that would need to be a format, I guess.
One organization is a nonprofit, one is not.
So the nonprofit is a part,
Correct.
yeah, so the nonprofit can.
So what if the nonprofit is applying to support a program, but also they wanna apply to support themselves?
But what, okay, give me an example of why the nonprofit is supporting the program. Like, give me a real example, like, what that would look like.
Let's say there's a partnership on the program, or they're
No,
just.
it's actually an example, like this program is, and I would want to support,
I can give you a real life example.
Yeah.
So Building Blocks is not currently a nonprofit organization. We're doing work around financial literacy, homeownership education, real estate education. So I guess my question is, would I be able to apply for this through another nonprofit if they're also applying for this pot of money? But I'm applying through like housing initiative, obviously. They might be applying through one of the other, subjects or topics that is applicable.
So the suggestion would be then to partner with an organization that's doing financial literacy, that is the nonprofit that's doing the work that can be supportive to you. It wouldn't make sense for someone who's doing housing to be the nonprofit and you're doing financial literacy. How do we then say, oh yeah, that does make sense for you to get housing money to do financial literacy? You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's just two different things. So one of the points that we do this is also for you guys to see within the room and to network within the room and figure out how you can collaborate. So it sounds like there needs to be a collaborative effort if there's not a nonprofit that exists for the financial literacy that you're doing. But it should also be with someone who's actually doing that type of work. It doesn't make sense for you to go somewhere totally different to get that same, to utilize your nonprofit. So the question is, who else is doing financial literacy here? That's nonprofit. Nobody? Interesting. Okay, so you need to be in contact with United Way. Where's Peter left?
Yeah.
You need to be in contact with United Way. And figure out what that can look like. Are you also trying to get the nonprofit started for?
Yes.
Okay, so then that's definitely another part of the capacity of what we're talking about, which you should probably be reaching out for. Thank you. And thank you for the work that you already know. But then it's why you want to look at property and get involved. It's like those two.
Here, my name is Gwen and I'm gonna read. I'm here on behalf of the Skate Park Project, a nonprofit founded by Tony Hawk in 2002. Our mission is to help underserved communities create safe and inclusive spaces for youth through the development of public skate parks and community-based programs. Since our founding, we've helped build nearly 700 public skate parks across all 50 states, which collectively serve around 17 million visitors each year. Here in New York, we've supported the creation of more than 30 parks statewide, transforming vacant lots and underused areas into vibrant hubs for multi-use recreation, mentorship, and belonging. Any funding would support our Harold Hunter programs, named in honor of Harold Hunter, a pioneering Black skateboarder and actor in New York City. These programs carry forward Harold's legacy by addressing the same systemic barriers that shaped his life through free mentorship, mental wellness workshops, possibly financial literacy, so we should talk, and community clinics. We provide pathways for young people to grow both within and beyond the skate park. And I'd love to just hear a little bit about your priorities for health and also workforce development.
Okay, thank you for all of that. So the priority for health and workforce development, I personally have my own priority. Like for health, I would love to see more screenings being done in the areas that impact people of color. So when it comes to prostate, colon, breast cancer, I just want more screenings to happen. Also tackling things like fibroids that women are dealing with when it comes to getting pregnant. So that's my personal sickle cell, of course, is another one that we have always advocated for. But people may have their own point of, and we're dealing with workforce development. I just want people gainfully employed. So what's happening with workforce development is people are going out there and use OSHA and all this thing, they can't even get on a job site. And so for me, I need the training to start and to end with someone being gainfully employed and take care of themselves and their family. So I really am not interested in like, certificates and not getting someone in the world working at Walgreens. So so all the way through. And if you're here, you're doing like certification, but you can't get on a job site, please reach out to myself or someone else, one of the elected officials, because we meet with unions all the time. And so they have to justify why you keep coming to me and asking me for whatever you want, but you can't hire the people that were, that we have go on this training. So gainful employment and what's training when it comes to us.
I was actually the one to work for, so I have a background in construction. So on top of overtime over 30, I would love to see more welding programs, vocational program intertwined. It's even being intertwined in private schools now, right? So I want to see it intertwined into some little programs. And so you talk about skate parks, right? Yeah, those rails and the welding. It's like, is there a workforce development program that program can do the welding and the rails, right? Another thing that I care about, and Brother Taylor, I don't care about the two. My dad's a vet. I know Brother Taylor, he's a vet. Workforce development for veterans, right? The houselessness, the amount of veterans who are living in the poverty, I'm making a big push. Trying to tell me one for veterans, something I'm pushing for. Veterans support is another thing that people are talking about. Like, I care deeply about that. So I'm trying to make sure that we take care of them. There's a lot of them struggling. So that's something I care about. What the hell, Mr. Hard Hats is one program, there's other programs that I'm trying to support, Chairman Steve Turner on.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Bobby Wilding, I'm the Executive Director of Clean and Healthy. I just have a logistical question, which is, I understand not doing capital expenditures, but I'm trying to understand more clearly what you mean by program. So I think that somewhere on the website, I read that staffing might not be covered, and I'm trying to understand whether staff time for the work being done would be included as part of a program expense.
Do you know, I don't recall seeing anything around staffing being an issue.
Okay.
Do you recall seeing that?
No.
I might have misread something, so I just wanted to get clarity that staff time could be, that programs would be considered part of the grant application.
I can't give you a yes, but I know for sure, I didn't see it say that. So, no.
And just as a fiscal conduit, I would say that we would have to include that time.
Yeah, if you were not to
programs
check out.
So, yes, and we would honor that too.
I think just interest on trying to do the backfill for your salary, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The program, and you need to pay for the teacher for that program, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Just I want to make sure people aren't trying to use it to backfill,
And the reason why we say that is because this is right now it's a one-time allotment, right? And so you don't want to hire someone that you just, or you want to just be able to further promote what you've already been doing. That's the purpose of this money. It's to further just build out what you've already been doing. So you don't want to hire someone that has to fire them also because the money's not there. But I do need you all to advocate with us next March, 2026. I would love to see you on the stairs in everyone's office saying, we need more funding, we need more funding, like we did this year to get them. So everybody, yeah. And it's 7:24, just so we are clear, and we're gonna have a hard stop.
First of all, just want to say thank you for being here. My name is Sly Harris. I'm the managing partner of a small company called SNS Capital Consulting. We like to come up with workforce development solutions for young people in the capital region. I'm curious to know, not necessarily correlating to that, but just as far as like organizations or applications that work. Could you give us an example of a grant application that like, has an organization or company trying to think of this?
So this is the first time we're getting this funding?
Well, possibly for similar funding, like especially in the past, or maybe some of the organizations you might have been thinking about when we're coming up or on the topics.
So the question is, what organization has actually been able to get funding?
Like a case essentially, like what kind of organization in the past, it's going to find this kind of funding in the city.
But the first one got it, so.
You guys have a model example.
Essentially, you guys are gonna be the model. My question is.
Because if we answer that, then we're going in at it again, and that says that we're looking at this or that, and we are a different slate, and it's clear, it's a canvas, it's open, and everybody can talk to apply, and everybody, an opportunity to win that, but if we go and say, you know, I like you for that, then we don't need to do this.
So this is the first
Good
time we're
question.
getting this funding.
Ask us that next year.
Right. By next year, you'll be telling everyone else with the model.
When we have 90 million to deal with out of this pot.
So are we done? Oh, wait, I have more, okay, no more.
So thank you for the last 4+ months. I know that, you know, this is so long, speaking to us, we really appreciate it. My name is Alyssa Bradley, the Center for Employment Opportunities, so we help folks who are 18 and over, help find employment upon return to incarceration. So we do deal with financial literacy, we'd love to connect with you on that, but I think my question is a little more, technical. You know, when I'm thinking about the application we put in, thinking about workforce, post-criminal justice, are there particular like fiscal conduits like we should apply towards more than others? Like, I know the application will probably have more details of like, if your workforce, for criminal justice, like apply to this one in particular, but
Yeah. No, we'll talk about the areas that design.
Absolutely. And first of all, hi. We've known each other for years. I'm so happy to see you. Thank you for all you do. If you don't know Alyssa, you should connect with her. She is phenomenal and doing phenomenal work. So thank you. Secondly, yes, absolutely. So our idea so far is that on the application, it will give the application that is for the fiscal conduits that are partnering with that application. Because again, a couple may be separate, but it's going to indicate who is going to be the fiscal conduit for that kind of area of expertise. So for example, United Way maybe out of, you know, thin air, but it might say like health and cultural preservation, Therese Daly, United Way of New York State. You know, this. So you'll be submitting that application, but it's letting you, Alyssa / organization, know who you'll be hearing from and who you can talk to, who can be your kind of advocate, if that makes sense.
Thank you, very helpful. Come on, Ben. Come on now. Come on now, show out.
Everyone, I'm Johnson, the Chief Executive Officer of Trinity Alliance. We have been around in the city of Albany since 1912, started off as a settlement house. And today we focus on 4 critical areas: alternative to incarceration, youth development, health and wellness, and then community network services. And a lot of my questions have actually been answered, but I do have a question about how are we defining small?
Okay.
Right? And then, because some organizations, ours is about $11 million, is classified as small, right? Because we may have our Capital District YMCA, they're probably about $50 million. So I think it's important to define what is small. And then administrative costs. That is something that will also be included, especially if these are operations. And then environmental justice. I wanted to know if that is also the area that this funding would allow. And when I talk about environmental justice, it also can be connected to housing, such as being able to help low-income homeowners, and particularly elderly or seasoned folks that do not have the money for like mold restoration or asbestos, because it's creating health issues for them.
You want to start there? Let's start. So the first question was about defining small, and I think we purposely did not create definitions because then it would limit someone who might be $1 or $2 over and say, oh no, I should not apply. We want people to apply and make decisions based on that. And so, yeah, I think we purposely did not do that. So we did define the purpose. Second one, what was the second one?
The second one.
Oh, admin.
Yes.
We didn't talk about it.
So we did talk about this as the fiscal conduits. Our goal was to make it as simple and easiest and as most transparent for all of you, so that you would be given a set amount and then
up to limit of the admin fee of that amount you'd be receiving. So that you would be able to have that parameter right away. Because we also understand that this is going to be a process for you as well, so you have that choice of saying, thank you for this offer, I don't know if I can do it, or I can do it, this seems fair, right?
All right, perfect. And then the last thing is just housing security. We could apply for housing funding to be able to prevent our community members from becoming homeless, whether if it's back paying rent or if it's utilities.
I think that whole house, but I will just, I'm trying to admin again, check out one of my big concerns, right? Because you have the conduit, and then you have no organization, and no, I want to make sure as much money can hit the street as possible, and not just to make sure. I mean, I want all of our nonprofits to be successful, but that's one of my biggest concerns, that the admin will shoot into too much of the money that is, I don't think people realize how big it is what Jean did here with this, but to make sure that we want to be able to demonstrate to the governor that look what we did. This had an impact. Imagine if we doubled it. You know what I mean? Imagine if we tripled it. And this is having a net positive impact, giving a better return on your investment than anything else that we're dealing with right now. And that's my goal, to show that this actually made a difference.
Thank you. And then environmental justice, right?
Yes.
This came up before, do you remember what we said about that?
Yeah, so technically the funding, that can be a program area based on like the budget bill language, because technically it's including but not limited to the program areas that's listed, so it falls under it.
All right, perfect. Thank you again for the thing. Anyone else?
Just one more quick question. Did you say Monday, the application?
Yeah.
And why early are this coming Monday?
Yeah. Okay, so let me be very clear. Everything at this state moves extremely slow. So for me, in my mind back in March, I was like, I would love to have this money out the door by December 31st, right? That was my prayer. And then when I started going through the process, I'm like, oh, this is not going to happen anytime soon. It's a very much hurry up and wait type of situation. So June, we passed our budget May 10th. June, we were already picking our fiscal conduits, and then I said, we'll do a listening tour. We've added November 21st is our last day. We've added
November 20th.
November 20th. It's Westchester, which is our last day, which is the majority leaders district. So understand that we had no understanding. We did not know what the Department of State was going to do and when they were going to do it. When the fiscal department was going to get their contract, so we could start the application process. And then we just heard like last week, they said, all right, we're going to have a fast turnaround. We need names of groups that you're going to fund by December 1st. And then next year, we want this money spent down by March 31st. And so it's a very much a hurry up and wait type of situation. What it's looking like right now is that as early as Monday, the application could be available. It's going to be a quick application process. So like Teresa said, it could be 2 weeks because fiscal congress have to look through every single application, and we've spoken to over 400 groups. So just imagine if 500, I'm sorry, we had 500 groups at this point. So just imagine if actually just 25 or 35% of those people actually apply. They have to go through each and every last one of those applications and say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And so we're talking about 2 weeks for you guys to get it, and they have to use the rest of that time to vet. By December 1, they have to be able to say to the Department of State, these are the groups that we are choosing to fund. The next.
Also, just wanted to add, after the fiscal conduits choose their groups, Department of State will be vetting you guys as well and will be making final decisions.
Okay, so vetting through them, through the application process, Department of State will go through their vetting process, and then that's when we'll say, yes, you are going to be awarded. This is how much you're going to be awarded. You have until this deadline to spend down this money. Right now, the spend down part is the part that we are going back and forth with. And in the past, right, if they'll give you a date like you have to spend money by March 31st and you do not spend all of the money by then, we reappropriate it. So meaning that the money will be there in the next budget and you can continue to spend down, right?
that's what we're hoping to see happen with this money too. So, yeah, that's pretty much the updates you guys have gotten live. I don't think I've said that yet. So yeah, that's the most recent update. Is there anything else?
What's the number of co-op? What's the maximum of co-op?
Well,
I just want to know.
I don't know. We've got some big coalitions and all. We've got some big coalitions and all. So, but why do we need a co-applicant if it's so big?
If you have one lead applicant, and then you have 8 other organizations that are collaborating on a one project.
And all 8 have to be funded under the one?
No, not necessarily. No, the project was. The project is funded, the project is funded listed as well.
Say that one more time.
Reporting wise.
Wait, say that again.
So what she's saying is that, you know, we have like coalition, it's one lead agency, as you said exactly, but because of the project that's outlined for the funding, does that have to be? Do you need the additional organizations that are part of this project based on?
See, that's we have this because if you talk about, I think if you talk about the objective that you want to reach, and there are 8 different organizations involved in that, it would seem to me that you're not gonna list all 8 of them for each one, that because that's a memorandum. It would be a memorandum of understanding within that coalition.
Right.
But one coalition is the one that would make the application, and this is what they're saying they want to do.
So technically, you don't need the co-application, you just need an MOU or whatever to work together, but you have to need an applicant, and get this to make sense. Yeah, okay. The strongest thing.
One second, I know we, you know, come to the mic, please. I know. We open it up.
Hi, my name is Tiana Bennett. I'm the co-founder of an organization called Intuition, which starts an interest in literacy across generations, utilizing restorative practice. So super excited about that. I have a quick question, and it sounds like I'm coming in late, so it might have been answered already, but my question was about partnership. And what if your organization is a 503(b), but the other organizations that you're working with aren't? Does that?
The 501c3 is a client.
Yes, the 501c3 is a client, and you have a co-applicant, but it needs to be the 501c3, it needs to be here getting the application from first and foremost.
Okay. All right, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
My question was, back to that. You got the lead applicant, right, that has 503, but you have the other co-applicants, because they have the longevity. All of them have the 501c3, but one of them has the longevity.
But I think
But
that's not happening. So what I think there's two things, so what I think is even when there's a private, an organization does not have 501c3 status, it needs to have a co-applicant that is. But if they're all 501c3, we would prefer that it would be just easier if just one or two applied, or just one. Does that make sense? Yeah, long.
Not OG, maybe they get an idea, so she gives them her.
Yes, okay, yeah.
Got it.
Yep.
And I just want you to know that, Senator Pat Bailey's staff was also here and I'm taking notes. And they had to acknowledge that we also said, make sure you look over there. But we have a question for DA.
I would like to hear from you, what would you like to see?
Oh, yeah.
You're on the front line. And
Yeah, what would you like to see?
the service programs you already deal with, as they have a positive impact. Like what do you see working, what would you like to see working? I think that lens, a different lens for it.
Well, I appreciate that, and honestly, one of the problems that we're having, at least in the Albany DA's office, that, and I know you mentioned, but we actually had a drive ball report for funds, which has been basically our discretionary one. Whether it was your bad risk management by the administration past or the feds have reworked the corporate fund, that basically the flow has, you know, kind of gone down to a trickle or a drop. So we don't have virtually the money that we used to be able to spend to, you know, give community programs, here's X amount of dollars, go do this thing. Through my Restorative Justice Bureau, we have a Community Justice Outreach Center, which is working with a lot of the nonprofits around here, Trinity and all these folks. What do I want to see? Workforce development is great. I actually really appreciate your shout out to veterans. I'm a vet, my dad's a vet, and his dad. So, that is an issue near and dear to my heart. I don't know a personal level. Look, if there are programs out there, but this is just my lens, but if there's a program out there that helps, get people away from, or helps build up a community and helps give people pride in their community, house, their job, their family, then I'm all for it. If I can lend, if not my pocketbook, then at least my voice in my office's support to it, I certainly will. Look, I understand, I'm from Albany. I chose to come back here after my time on active duty was over to raise my family. I understand that Albany's a special place, but politically, I also understand that this is like an incubator of ideas. So if we can do things here on a smaller scale and everyone realizes that it can work in Albany, and therefore you guys are from the city, so you're watching what we can do in Albany well, then I'm certainly going to use my office, my platform to get it done. So when I showed up, I said I'm here to listen and talk. I feel like I've already said too much, but again, as somebody who chose Albany as the place to live and raise my family, I'm really touched that you guys are doing this. I want to hear from my community members what we can do better. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you. So it is 7:42. 7:42, we have a hard stop at 8 o'clock. We usually utilize this time for you guys to network and see into the room and see where you can partner. Again, I'm Assembly Member Chantal Jackson, representing the 79th District in the South Bronx, Chair of the Legislative Women's Caucus, also Chair of the Legislative Black Task Force. Very excited to be here on stop number 10 of the listening tour. Only 2 more to go. It's only possible with the work of my colleagues, but also our executive director, Dorothea Williams, who is here. I'm going to thank the Albany Black Chamber of Commerce for allowing us this amazing space in our community. And I'm going to, I remind you guys to apply. Make sure that you have registered to be here so that we have your contact information. And if you are on social media, please follow us at NYSBL Task Force. It's also listed here. For people with bad eyes, make sure you walk up to the front and look at it. I'm going to allow my colleagues to introduce themselves for the last time we go.
Again, I'm Assembly Member Landon Days, I represent the 7-7, which is the Southwest Bronx, right next to. I'm actually in between, I'm a river between this district and my district, and I don't think that hurts. But again, Albany, thank you for having us. I know sometimes we're just here for the session, but I made a particular, Chantel was name, come up to Albany. I think you should be here, and so I'm glad I came, and I want to continue working with partners in Albany. Like the PA just said, if we can make it happen in Albany, maybe not necessarily New York City, but other towns around New York, that's the Mount Vernon, the Hempsteads of the world, the Rochesters. I think we go on something there. So I love that idea. So thank you for having me, y'all.
Thank you so much. I would just encourage me, Assembly Member Hamilton, New York City, Harlem, Washington Heights, and Hillwood. I would just encourage you to continue to network, continue to network. Did I mention continue to network? And thank you for being
learn all of the things that you're doing, and I look forward to seeing that application of yours hit the computer. So thank you. And I want to personally say, if you have any questions, if you're confused, it's open and you're wondering what to do or you're not sure about it, feel free to email me. I'm going to give you my email now, but know that you can come up and get it too. It's DALYT@uwnys.org. So please feel free to email me. I just want to give a special thank you to Madam Chair for including us as fiscal conduits. We appreciate your leadership Thank you, Councilmember Nance and Councilmember Taylor, for your leadership, and thank you so much for hosting us in your house. It was a pleasure. And go 518. Thank you.
Hi, Garcia. Hi, Garcia. I'm Maria. Oh, it's so nice to meet you. I was waiting this whole time, like, I want to know about you. We love other black women doing this. Next time I try and do an event, I'm gonna see if I get you on. You know, I'm definitely. I want mine up downstairs. Oh, that's it.